Folks, welcome to an all new So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Friday episode, folks. Woo! I am doing this earlier in the day because tonight is one of the most challenging nights for a TV viewer that there's ever been. And I'm trying to finish so I can sit my big old butt right in front of the TV and watch the season finale of The Traitors. And then I believe they have the reunion for The Traitors directly after that. That's on Peacock. Then over on Bravo, you have the finale of Real Housewives of Miami, the third part of the reunion. That's been a fantastic season. You also have the third episode of Summer House. Let's see if Lindsay recovers from calling Carl Cocaine Carl last week. And I mean, listen, we know they eventually don't recover because they don't end up getting married, but that's on tonight. And then you got that, what's that other fictional show? The State of the Union. You got that on tonight. And I got to tell you, I don't think I'm going to watch the State of the Union because The Traitors is on. There is so much good TV. I hope you enjoyed that Unhinged Vanderpump Rules recap we did yesterday. Also, I want to let you know that I did a couple podcasts this week. Kiki Monique has a podcast on Betches called Pop Crime. We celebrated, what a weird word. We celebrated the 1 year anniversary of Scandal, but it was a really fantastic conversation breaking down the Rachel Leviss lawsuit and other things. I always have a fantastic conversation with Kiki. I am also on Rachel Yucatel. She has a podcast called Misunderstood, MISS. And Rachel, if you remember, I forgot so many things about Rachel. She was initially, you might have heard of her because she was involved in the Tiger Woods scandal back in the day. I knew about that, but I forgot she had dated PK Kemsley. We actually talked about that on her show. I'd forgotten about that. She was on a season of Celebrity Rehab. Remember that VH1 show? I was like, what? But I think that was a fantastic conversation. So go check that out this weekend if you can. I'll also be doing a full Traitors recap of the finale over on the Patreon, and I'm doing a Summer House recap tomorrow on there as well. Finally getting back to normal, thank God. Listen, I go out of town for like 3 days. I haven't recovered all week. I mean, it's just wild. I'm finally getting my sea legs back. I mean, it just goes to show you, do not leave the house. Nothing good happens when you leave the house. I have been so out of sorts this week. It's wild. I hope you guys are doing way better than I'm doing. So thank you for being here. I wanted to start. This is a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion part 2 recap. I'm also going to be releasing another interview I did today with Donna Bowling from the podcast Daily Dose of Donna, and she was fantastic. And we just do a Bravo roundup, but I think it's a perfect companion conversation to a silly recap because it's so great to just have both of us bouncing off about everything going on with every Bravo show right now. And it is just so much more fun to talk to people than to just do these solo episodes sometimes. So that, I think, click over to that right after this or vice versa, whatever suits your fancy. I wanted to start off with this because it involves the Beverly Hills reunion. We talked this week where Crystal Kung Minkoff, she was on the Jeff Lewis, the radio show last week, and said that Dorit was 2 hours late to sitting down in that reunion chair and that everybody was pretty frustrated with her. And I said this week, I said, that is ridiculous. That is completely ridiculous. Well, Dorit fired back at Crystal and said, "What nonsense. Our arrivals were time-stamped." I'm not going to do the Dorit voice right now. She says, "Our arrivals were time-stamped in the first reunion episode. Crystal's claim that I was 2 hours late to set because I was doing TikToks is nothing more than another bold-faced lie out of her mouth. The entire cast and crew know that I had an unfortunate wardrobe malfunction with my dress." Oh God, did somebody try to steal her dress? No. The small zipper which closes the dress broke, and the brilliant wardrobe team that were hired had no choice but to sew me into the dress, which didn't take anywhere near 2 hours. My TikToks were filmed after the reunion. You can see it was dark outside. And then she did one of those emojis with the little spectacle, like, Okay, so that's great. That's Dorit. But then Crystal immediately fires back. Crystal is getting really good at this. Crystal immediately falls back and says, sorry, but nope. Those timestamps are wrong. Love you, Bravo. It's not dark at 7:30 a.m. and you don't leave the trailer at 10:30 and walk 15 steps and it's all of a sudden 11:30. And we filmed the first segment without Dorit that began at 11:45 because Andy was getting restless, as were we. Stop the cap and just respect others' time. Crystal did a stop the cap. Stop the cap. That's you. Like I hear a lot of rappers say, stop the cap. Stop the lies, Dorit. The lies. Candy Burris. The lies. The lies. So man, I maybe we need a fourth part of this reunion just so we can figure out what the heck's going on with Dorit. Also, getting sewn into your dress, that always it makes me think of like somebody actually like sewing into Dorit's skin. But also, didn't it just? I mean, no effect. You guys know my style, but doesn't. But also, first off, Dorit admits that she kind of shops at Marshall's sometimes. Did she get her reunion look at Marshall's? Because I'm telling you, my mom, she instilled the value of stores like Marshall's and Ross to me. So you can find fabulous things there. I don't doubt she could get her great reunion look at Marshall's for a great price. But did did they? Oh God. No, my point is the dress seemed kind of like a little loose. Like it just seems like you could slip it on, kind of like a robe. So I didn't even know you had to be sewn into that. That's how little I know about fashion. I figured it would almost take 2 hours to do that little curly Q on top of her forehead. I don't know. Anyways, what did you guys think of the second part of the reunion? A lot of people said it was like filler. I think there's some great moments. There's some great discussion. But when you compare it to like the Real Housewives of Miami reunion, it is like apples and oranges. That Miami reunion, those ladies are just going like at a 10 nonstop. There are discussions. We see the return of Kathy Hilton. Oh my God. I don't even know if Kathy Hilton realized she was being filmed. Like she had quite a look when she came into that trailer, just stumbling in with the rollers in her hair, just like me getting out of bed. It was really awesome. Also, did anybody stick around after the reunion and watch the 2-hour special? Erika Jayne's Bet It All on Blonde. It was a docu-series special about Erika Jayne prepping her Vegas Bet It All on Blonde tour. And I have never seen something take itself so seriously. And the sad thing is, you just don't root for Erika. So the whole thing feels feels self-indulgent and empty. The best moments were, her taking care of her sick dog, Tiago, who rest in peace, Tiago. I thought that was actually a beautiful moment. But already, like the hour before in this reunion, we have Erika like going like, I don't know why I met with the victims. I can't tell you why. I don't know, which was so gross. And then to go into this special, it made me so sad. But there were so many funny moments that I don't think were meant to be funny. This Mikey Minden, he cries more than Sheena cries when dealing with Tom Sandoval and Ariana. I mean, just the waterworks with Mikey. And it was like, Mikey would be like, we need more slut. You're not giving us enough slut, Erika. Tap into your inner slut. And I just thought that was so wild because every season, Erika Jayne's always like, I get so much dick. I'm fucking. You know me. Ha, screw you, Sutton. You don't know how to fuck. You don't know how to ride. Yeah, Magic Mike. But then on stage, she's like really robotic and like not sexy, according to Mikey Minden. And I thought it was so, I don't know. I think everything makes me sad these days, but I watched it and I just felt sad. I felt bad for her. And I don't think that was, I mean, listen, she is a survivor. I mean, not like the actual orphans and widows and the victims of Tom Girardi. Those are real survivors, but she is a survivor herself. Like, but I just don't know, like there's when somebody, you say a survivor, there's usually this really kind of like, hell yeah, like good for you. And I don't like Erika Jayne is getting through it. I just still don't champion her like a lot of people that we dub survivors, if that makes sense. And of course, Tom Girardi is brought up a little bit in the docuseries where she'll say she'll still take calls from Tom and he'll call repeatedly and it'll be like, how's your day? How's your day, Erika? And she'll be like, fine, how's yours? Good. I'm still lawyering. You're still lawyering? What do you mean, Tom? Well, I'm still lawyering. Like she kind of gave the impression that he still thinks he runs his law firm or something. I don't know, you guys. He is going to be standing trial. He was found competent to stand the trial, which we talk about in this part of the reunion as well. So I don't know. I don't know who's lying, who's telling the truth. I guess we'll let the courts decide on this one. And also, Erika Jayne is a little bit of legal trouble even away from this main Tom Girardi mess because of those costume designers that she allegedly bilked for a lot of money. And if you watch the Housewife and the Hustler docuseries part 2 on Hulu, you will see that story as well, which I felt really bad for those costume designers. So that is all happening outside of the reunion. So let's get into today and let's get this done so we can just enjoy the traitors tonight, folks. So these notes, as always, were taken by Juliana Carraza. I love her dearly. She is awesome. We were texting today, and now Juliana, she's a survivor. Now that's somebody that's a survivor. She's just the best. And I'm sure she is thrilled that next week is the final Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for the season. What did you think of the season as a whole so far, you guys? I thought it started off really strong. I thought, as always, I keep saying this, is just Kyle's inability to really want to share with us what's actually going on in her life is going to be a stumbling block for Kyle. I think she's made so many positive steps in her life, and I truly don't care if she's with Morgan Wade, and I think she is, but I think her trying to hide things or manage things sometimes just doesn't work on reality TV, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. And I think that can sometimes leave a bad taste in your mouth because the whole point of reality television is to share things. And she makes an argument in this part of the reunion where she says, listen, I've been on the show 13 years. I've shared so much, my kids, da, da, da. And yes, we see you, we see your family. You've allowed cameras to be there, but there is a big difference about sharing what's actually going on and just letting the cameras be there to present a certain image of this is my family, this is my home, this is what I do. To me, there's a big difference there. And I thought it was hysterical that she brings in Kathy almost like a bully to bully the other ladies potentially. Like, Kathy, tell everybody to be nice to me or you're going to do something to them, right? Kathy, bully him. I don't know if that's why Kathy was brought back, but I do find it interesting that right before they get into the Morgan Wade stuff next week, Kathy's sitting there on the couch. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, good stuff so far. So we pick back up where we left off last week, and that is just Dorit getting pummeled every which way. I mean, she is taking hits like Mike Tyson right and left. I truly think Kyle, at the end of the day, does not give a shit about Dorit. I mean, gives a shit about Dorit in a friendly co-worker kind of way, but it is just wild and poor. I mean, you almost feel bad for Dorit. So we jump right back in, and Andy is like, Kyle, at the Celebration of Life event, I know you welcomed the support of the ladies, but at other points of the season, there was a marked distance between you and your friends, especially Dorit. It seems like that maybe that began last year, where you said you were disappointed in Dorit for how she handled the Kathy situation at the reunion. And Kyle's like, they were really coming after me, and they were like, rah, rah to Kathy. And it seemed like when you said, I think Kathy just wants some support, to me, it feels like you care more about the audience. And like, so she's telling Dorit, I think you are trying to rally the audience around you and kind of go with what they say instead of your own friend. And Dorit immediately hops in of like, that is the most hysterical thing I've ever heard. Beep, boop, 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 boop. All I wanted for you was to leave the reunion. You and Kathy, okay. All she wanted for you was to recognize her feelings in it. And Garcelle hops in and she's like, do you ever say, Dorit, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done it. You're right. I should have done that. You're right. I'm so sorry. And Dorit's like, I've apologized to you a half a dozen times. Meaning Garcelle. I love it. She's like, don't fuck with me, Garcelle. You're being aggressive. Whoop. I can't say that. Oh, shit. I've done it again. But Garcelle's like, listen, she just wants to hear that. Garcelle, it is okay for me to defend something that is not true. It's not fair. It's not honest. It's not real. And there's just smoke billowing from the red cape on Dorit's head. And Kyle's like, well, what bothered me about I am allowed to speak on my own behalf, okay? And Garcelle's like, okay. Like Kyle's trying to jump in, and now it's between Garcelle and Dorit. And Andy's like, all right. I want to move on to something else. Why? How do you always move on to something else? Did you feel like that was closed at all? Like, I love that we get absolutely no closure. Like, it kicks up more dust than it settles. So Andy's like, okay, I want to talk about your sobriety. It's been like a year and a half. Is that right? How does it feel? It feels amazing. It's not like I had a problem. So you think, why would I change? You know, it doesn't affect you that much, but there's something about it that does change you. And Andy's like, Dorit, how much do you think Kyle's sobriety is influenced by her new friend, Morgan? And they flash cozy pictures of Kyle and Morgan on the screen. I'm Morgan Wade. I'm sober as well. And I've got tattoos like one that says K for my new friend, Kyle. And Dorit's like, you changed your lifestyle, Kyle, and you're not drinking. And you have friends that don't drink, and I understand how Morgan can play a role in that regard, but I don't think that she influenced Kyle to stop drinking. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's very true. By the way, when I stopped drinking, I had only met her once in person, once at that point. So they're establishing that Kyle's decision to stop drinking really wasn't to do with Morgan. Andy says, Olivia Stabler on Twitter says, the other women are being so insensitive to Kyle's sobriety. Garcelle, what's your response? Do you think the group was not on board with that? And Garcelle kind of just points out, listen, we were just teasing. It wasn't a big deal with the mocktail comment. And Erika's like, I think if Kyle had a drinking problem, it would have been different. Like, we wouldn't have said, are you sure you don't want to have a drink? It wasn't just the not drinking. There was a big shift. She was working out incessantly. Tattoos. It seemed like she had changed a lot. The big thing it changed, I think, with Dorit was like, she's not hanging out with me at all. Like, that seems like, I think Kyle could have fucking like tattooed her vagina for all that like Dorit cares if she would hang out with Dorit. And Kyle snaps back. So I've always worked since I was 15 years old because I had to. I had two sisters that were sticks and I was curvy. I just didn't talk about it as much. If I was being reckless, drinking, doing drugs, we could talk. But I'm learning a lot about myself in the last year. Isn't that wild, that comment about her two sisters being sticks and her being curvy? It just goes to show you with all of us how much our looks and our family and weight and all of these things, they stay with us forever. Like Kyle is a lady in her 50s and she is still remembering these moments of 15 years old being curvy when her other two sisters were sticks. And I think that's important to think about anyway, too. So anyway, Sutton, who actually showed up to play, was like, well, I'm going to say this, Kyle. I think you were reckless. I say, because you said I had a drinking problem that I don't eat. That is reckless in and of itself. I say. And we get a flashback to 9 months earlier when Kyle was kind of insinuating this at like the THC dinner. And, Kyle's like, okay, wait, hold on. Sutton, I've never said you had a drinking problem. Not one time. Well, did you bring it up and kind of insinuate it? Did you or did you not? So we're about to get a name them. And Kyle's like, don't do the name them thing. Well, I'm just asking you a question, Kyle. Then let me finish that. Well, then answer it, Kyle. Well, let me finish. I never said she had a drinking problem, Andy. I actually specifically made a conscious decision to never say something like that. Well, did you insinuate? I said, I don't know if she was drinking when I saw her. That's not, hello, we all drink. Well, Kyle, you started seedlings about it. You started seedlings about me. You know Sutton's on a roll when she starts using words like seedlings. You putting out seedlings, a little seedling that make a little plant go into a tree. That's what you're doing, Kyle. Seedlings. And Kyle's like, what else did I say other than the moment about the drinking? Well, you said I pushed my food around. I didn't eat. Well, that's that. I mean, I'll say that again. Well, but do you know what that did to me? I say. And Kyle yells, what did I ever do to you to warrant you doing what you did to me at the weed dinner at my party? You have a lot of nerve to say a seedling. Like Kyle, Kyle should just be kicking back. Kyle gets so activated, especially with Sutton. And I think it's like power dynamics in the fact that she thinks I mean, she thinks Sutton's a kook. She does. She thinks Sutton's a kook. She shouldn't be talked down to by Sutton or even argued to by Sutton. And Sutton really came to play this season. You might like her, you might hate her, but she clocked in. And I just think Sutton clocking in. I don't know. It's she's coming into her powers. So it's a little sloppy, but I'm still here for it. So they're arguing now about seedlings. And Sutton's like, well, that's not a seedling that you've done anything wrong. And Kyle yells, and not a seedling. Nope. And Kyle yells, you acted like I did something wrong to you instead of saying, are you okay? Do you need a friend? And Sutton gives like a scoff, like, well. And Andy's like, Crystal, do you think that Kyle was dropping seeds about Sutton's drinking? What was your, and Kyle interrupts, when did I ever say drinking other than that? Well, I saw y'all talking in your kitchen about it. And Kyle yells, y'all, and we get a flashback to earlier in the season when Dorit was saying, well, I think she potentially put a little vodka in her coffee instead of coffee-made French vanilla crema. And then Kyle's like, before 10 a.m., yeah. And Crystal says, well, had it been an isolated moment and you guys had never talked about the drinking again, I would have said no, but it felt like there were conversations. And Kyle interrupts, and when was the other times? Clarify. And Crystal's like, I'm just saying it was enough for me to say. And Kyle interrupts again. Well, just because we're friends doesn't mean that what she says is coming out of my mouth too, pointing at Dorit, like kind of saying, Dorit's on her own. Dorit, yeah. Just because Dorit says it, I don't even like that girl. Kyle continues, what I said was I didn't know if she had a few drinks or it was her medicine, but she was off. I never said that. And Sutton's like, well, oh my God, I forgot about the medicine part. And Kyle's like, I never said she had a drinking problem. Those words never came out of my mouth. Well, Kyle, they won't come out of your mouth because you're very smart. You're very smart and you're very clever. I say, you play a good game of chess. I don't even think Kyle probably knows how to play chess. You play a good game. Well, you play a good game of Uno, Kyle. You play a good game of, what is that, Operation? You don't have shaky hands. It doesn't go, boo, boo. Yeah, Kyle. And Kyle's like, yeah, I do know. And that's what I was dealing with all season long because of the weed dinner and what people were saying about my family. And I shared that with all of you right out of the gate at the Eagle Woman thing. You know it's a good show if somebody like just happens upon this and they hear Kyle say something like, never watch the show at all. And then you hear somebody say at that Eagle Woman thing. You're like, wait, what's an Eagle Woman? We do flashback to 10 months earlier when they visited Eagle Woman for a spiritual cleansing ceremony. Eagle Woman probably will visit Tom Sandoval at some point this season of Vanderpump Rules. But we flash back to Kyle saying, I would be lying if I were to say that the last year didn't affect me and our relationship at times. Then we come back to the reunion and Kyle's like, I told all of you guys. No, you didn't, Dorit says. And Kyle acts stunned. And Kyle's like, yes, I did. And Dorit's like, no, she said it wasn't. Well, I'm not going to say, but. And Kyle interrupts, don't get me started. Please, are you kidding me? And so this is what we're also dealing with, folks, when I talk about the reality of the reality. Because there seems to be information that these ladies are hanging on to, that they have almost made some kind of sisterhood of the traveling pants blood oath that they will not talk about on camera. Like, I don't know if they killed a hobo together or something, but it's always like, I know something, but I can't say. Like, that's the kind of shit that like drives me up a wall. And I wish Andy would be like, hey, listen, it looks like you actually know information. Would you tell us what the fuck you're hemming and hawing about? You know, so Sutton doesn't blow a gasket and we go back to talking about seedlings. Crystal's like, well, no, she said she had a hardest year. Yeah, had the hardest year. I was just about to say that. And Crystal's like, and I was surprised to hear that. And Dorit goes, that's exactly what I'm saying. You said, we've had a hard year. You didn't say, oh, Mo and I are struggling. We're having. And Kyle sarcastically is like, oh, I'm sorry. You didn't think it was enough information. Oh, it just had started. It was just I was figuring out myself. And what makes you so entitled to think that you are owed an explanation of everything that's going on in my bedroom? Your bedroom? Tell me more, Kyle. What is going on in your bedroom? Are you doing a little of this, a little of the scissoring, a little of the what the kids are calling the 96ing or the 69ing with like a lot of, what's going on? Could you imagine if the third part of the reunion, Kyle's like, what I like to do, I like to take her pants off, I like to lay her down, I like to bump uglies with her, have a little Enya on the background. some non-alcoholic Chablis, and I like to get freaky. Love Bean, what are you talking about? It's very hard for you to talk about. I'm just hearing this for the first time, Love Bean. Come on. Sutton's like, well, listen, we all share what's going on in our lives. And Kyle's like, oh, that's not true. Every one of us, Kyle, that is true. That is true. And Dorit's like, what do you mean by that? It's not true. And Kyle blasts, let me tell you something. I am, and now she's like an old, old-timey Hollywood actor. I've been on this show for 13 years, Toots. I've watched my 2-year-old birthday party to that child is going to apply to colleges next year. My child learning how to drive a car, going off to college, coming home from college, getting engaged, rumors about my marriage. I have 2 siblings on the show. My family is falling apart. Don't talk to me about not sharing what's going on in my life. You bought a horse this season. You have a dating coach. Give me a break. Kyle, my heart goes out to everything that you're going through. But if you ever fucking talk bad about Santos, Sutton's horse again, I will literally bite my pillow. That horse has done nothing to you. And it is a beautiful horse that has a better place in Burbank than I will ever own in my life. And for you to bring that in as a little jab, no, it was actually quite funny. But also, this is my point. Kyle, like, listing off the things like, I put my sisters, my family, my kids going to college. I'm like, I don't give a shit if your kid, I don't need to watch your kid go to college. I'm not like, oh, good, I know Kyle's kids are going to college. I feel like that's pretty good sharing. No, I want to know the ugly shit. Yeah, rumors about your husband, we never fully got into them. I want to have those conversations. Let's talk about the husband. I don't want to talk about the horse. Let's talk about the husband. Sutton scoffs. And Erika smirks. Kyle rolls her eyes, and Andy looks surprised. And Kyle, very fast talking, is like, wait, you don't talk about anything. You say we're not allowed to talk about Christian, your ex. He's a very powerful man. We can't talk about him. Well, that's an outrageous lie, Kyle. Magic Mike, you're not going to talk about that. Well, it's a lie. It's a lie. I was wearing dick riding pants. How dare you? And Kyle's like, you want me to spill everything that's happened in my marriage? Well, I don't want you to spill anything, Kyle. We had questions, seedlings. Well, you had tattoos. You're working out, I say. So what? What do you care? You've made a lot of lifestyle changes. Anybody can see that. Just to come after me. Well, how? What? What are you talking about, Kyle? I did. And then she mocks Sutton. She's like, what? Yeah, you came into this season just to come after me. I mean, this is a little delusional, but at the same time, you do prepare to go into some sort of battle if you're on a housewife show. You just do. And Sutton has been picked on since the beginning. Like, I'm glad she didn't just lay down and let these girls just eat her alive. Like, Rinna was such an asshole to Sutton, and that spilled over to the rest of these women. So Kyle's like, I'm sorry, just maybe buying a horse at a cashmere line and, isn't enough. Kyle's being really mean when she doesn't have to, but that's great. It's the reunion. That's what you do. Now, I do understand her point too, and I do think Sutton does feel like she is sharing, but I do know, like, listen, we don't know everything about Sutton and her husband. It's talked about, but I would say it's the same amount of sharing we get about Kyle and her husband. We talk about him leaving for London. We talk about the kids and her husband. We talk about her finally finding her freedom, the divorce. But, I want more with Sutton as well. I'm more for knowing about all of these ladies more. And Sutton's like, well, you want me to talk about my horse now? All you can do is make fun of my accent. How dare anybody make fun of Sutton's accent? I mean, that's just disgusting. I, for one, would never do that. Oh, we're not allowed to talk about the horse either? And Sutton is stunned. I wish at this point, Santos would just like break in of like, nee, just like, get out of here, Sutton. She's a bad lady. Nee. Anyways, Andy's like, okay, let's get back to the actual point. Do the other women think that Kyle was insinuating that Sutton has a drinking problem? And Crystal's like, I would say more that was Dorit. And he's like, do you think she has a drinking problem, Dorit? Do I think either one of us was insinuating she has a drinking problem? Yeah, do you think she has one? I don't know. Okay. And Garcelle says to Crystal, whenever someone repeats the question, they're stalling. And I do think that is very true, just point blank. But I also think with Dorit, she'll go on these long-winded explanations, and half the time it doesn't feel like they're really thought out. So I do believe Dorit put into pressure situations stalls out, like my Corolla, just stalls out, you know? And says, well, I don't have to defend myself anymore because I think we can all say I do not. And it's ridiculous. I say, I do not have a drinking problem. And Dorit quietly is like, I don't think you have a drinking problem, I guess. Well, you didn't say it loudly. And she touches her ear. Say it more clearly so everybody in the back can hear it. I'm just, say it again. Sutton, what did you just say? Well, I don't have any evidence. I'm not with you all the time. I don't know. I say, oh. And Sutton's like, well, you just said I don't think you have a drinking problem. I don't think you have a drinking problem, but I don't know. I don't know. And Sutton's like, well, I don't know if you have a drinking problem either. Carcass out. Ooh, Sutton came to play, going after Dorit's favorite way of drinking a vodka soda with the carcass out. And Dorit rolls her eyes and Sutton's like, I mean, I don't know how many carcasses are on the floor every night. Little Jagaloo having to like dodge carcasses to get to his bed at night. Mommy, I slipped on a carcass. Help me. The floor is lava. I mean carcasses. Andy's like, all right, I want to move on to something else. Why do we keep moving on? I feel like we've got a little bit more mileage in this, but okay. And he's like, this group famously loves a theme party. And Kyle's weed dinner took things to a new high. Did you see what I did there? And we see flashbacks to Denise, with the getting all like, weird with Erika and Dorit. And like, I was so fucking nice to you, Erika. Okay. And you were a bitch to me. Okay. And you know it. And he's like, what is going through y'all's mind when she is saying to you, watch the show? What are you thinking? Because she's like, watch the show. You say you watch the show. And Garcelle's like, well, I kept saying to her, you can't say that. And Kyle talking out of the corner of her mouth, like, you can't watch the show right now. We're having dinner. And Andy's like, and we're on it, meaning the weed. And Erika's like, yeah, like we're doing it right now. No, but I also knew what Denise meant, saying like, watch the fucking show. I didn't think she meant let's all get a TV and watch it now. Andy says, Kyle from Orange County said, Denise is not actually mad about the threesome comment. She is clearly mad about the Brandy hookup rumor. And since Rinna, Freddie, and Brandy aren't around, she's taking it out on Erika. Now, that's in reference to, did Brandy and Denise sleep together? Denise, I always felt like it probably happened, but it was something very private and something Brandy shouldn't have used or monetized to try to have a little zinger to possibly get back on Beverly Hills. Hope your court case is going well, Brandy. Good stuff. Erika is just staring into space this whole time and points her finger out like, bingo. And then he's like, ladies, who thinks it was more about that? And Dorit's like, I think that's very spot on. And he's like, I thought so too. But then I wondered why she didn't say to you, Erika, you didn't have my back on any level regarding that. And Kyle goes, maybe she didn't want to bring it up again. Hold on. I excused myself when she singled me out at her barbecue. That's why I didn't have her back. I'm Erika Jayne. And Andy goes, right. Dorit, what was going through your mind when you were gently trying to correct Denise about the coat? Remember, she had the coat on upside down and backwards. And Dorit was like, it's upside down, please. And Dorit's like, I don't give a flying ass fuck about a jacket. I can tell. And Dorit's like, I still to this day, I don't know what was bothering her, what she was thinking. And Kyle's like, she was thinking that you were like being a mean girl and saying her jacket was upside down, but you were actually, trying to help her. And Garcelle's like, she said every time she sees you, you were like fixing something to almost get her off kilter. And that is something that I could totally see, Dorit doing. I don't know if doing it to like make somebody insecure, but like Dorit, every time you see somebody like saying something like, oh, honey, your undies are showing, like you've got toilet paper stuck to your heel, something like that. And Denise already obviously was on something. And she was already on the defensive from the Erika Jayne thing at the table. So I do see where she thought Dorit was once again potentially making fun of her. She still acted like a goof, though. We can all agree. Andy goes, at BravoCon 2022, Erika predicted Dorit and PK were headed to Splitsville, but was Erika just being a showman, or was she actually onto something? Let's take a look. And we flash back to that moment, which I was in the audience for. What a huge moment when Andy asked which Bravo celebrity couple was next headed for Splitsville, and Erika took the mic and goes, I think it's Dorit and PK. And then just like flipped her hair and bounced back to her seat. The audience went wild. Andy loved it. And we also show that first episode of the season where Dorit imitates Erika doing that moment. And I got to say, Dorit knocked the Erika Jayne imitation out of the park. Like, honestly, puts me to shame. Dorit whispers while watching the clip to Erika, and she's like, my impression was pretty good, though. And Erika whispers back, it was fucking brilliant. I actually would rather see Dorit do Erika's Bet It All on Blonde show than Erika. Like, Dorit doing an impression of Erika I would pay $14, not even just $7 to see that. And Dorit finishing in that talking head going, that's not a show, man. That's a bitch. Oh. And Dorit in another clip saying that she had a difficult year. Is it possible that her and PK might not make it? And then, of course, the anniversary surprise that PK, the Pretty Woman themed thing where, he rented jewelry for her to wear. And they had the conversation about her anxiety. I have anxieties. That's control, Dorit. I think maybe I'm not going to bother with the surprises anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, Berlin, take my breath away. That's not actually from the Pretty Woman soundtrack. It's from the Top Gun soundtrack. But it was too expensive to get Go West to sing King of Wishful Thinking, I say. Oh. Anyways, we also see their... Sorry. This is so stupid. Sorry. Even if you're not enjoying this at home, I always like to get to the point where I realize how ridiculous all of this is. The show's ridiculous. I'm ridiculous. We're all ridiculous. Anyways, we have the home therapy session where, sorry, this is not funny. Dorit's like, you don't understand the severity of the putsta, the PTSD. It's like I'm a totally new person and I can't do anything about it. Well, there are also some elements that I don't consider putsta. I don't. I consider they're more obnoxious, which is a very British way of thinking. Dorit in the talking head's like, these are the times that truly test your relationship. This particular bad time when I need PK. He's coming up really short. Beep, boop, 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 boop. Jagaloo is the only man in my life now. Andy goes, all right. Well, this year you underwent a style transformation, dark colors, brown hair, and an unusually logo-free wardrobe. Dorit, I do this as well. Sometimes I just won't get a haircut for 6 months and then I will. And everybody's like, oh my God, a big change. Or, I'll wear longer, like I'll wear basketball pants when it's colder. And then sometimes I'll switch to basketball shorts and people are like, what's going on? Like, are you going through putsta or what? Anyways, I get it. Sarah from St. Louis says, being blonde gets expensive, but between the new brown hair and the toned down outfits, I'm thinking PK put Dorit on a budget. And Kyle's like, not the B word. Kyle literally probably has already spent like $30,000 that day at the reunion. Like she's probably on Amazon in breaks of like, I need more clothing racks. And Sutton's like, yeah, we hate a budget.
Yeah, you're still wearing expensive shit, Dorit.
Well, one has nothing to do with the other. The dark hair. I was ready for a change. The camera pans to Andy taking his cards and covering his mouth behind a yawn. And Dorit's like, I've had an incredibly difficult last 2 years. And then she sees Andy. He stops. Don't you dare. Don't you dare, Andy Cohen. I'm sorry, I didn't, okay? And we get a flashback to 2 reunions where Andy has done the same thing. And I felt so bad for Dorit in a sense, but it also just, listen, they edit these things down. We must there's been so many storylines about Dorit just going for miles and miles of conversation, like me doing a recap. And it just seems like it must be a lot for everybody. Like because Andy's mind just must wander and then it must just like, oh, time for oh shit, I'm caught, So Andy's like, I'm sorry. Well, let me pull it back so I cannot be long-winded. And Andy goes, we're already past that point. Boom. And Dorit goes, I know. Okay. Well, the brown hair was a choice. And Andy's like, you're not on a budget. I'm not on a budget by my husband. And Andy's like, you are on a budget then. No, I'm not on a budget. Like, I think she kind of meant like, I'm on a budget that I put myself. That Dave Ramsey is helping me with. Andy's like, okay, well, we learned at the start of the season that you were recovering from yet another horrific robbery. And the camera shows Garcelle shaking her head. And Andy's like, well, there were a lot of questions about the details. Lainey from Pennsylvania says, I read that Dorit said the $10,000 in cash was for Christmas bonuses for her staff, but I don't understand why she brought it into a store and left it in a shopping cart. Now, you guys, this is still confusing me. So let's go through this together as a family, see if we can make heads or tails of this. Also, I had so many questions, like follow-up questions, like, did she then replace the $10,000? Did her staff not get Christmas bonuses? Like, do we believe in personal checks at this place? Like the cash, I don't know, so many questions. And Dorit goes, okay, when I was driving home to do the Christmas bonuses, I thought, and isn't Dorit Jewett? Anyway, I thought, I don't know if I have enough. Oh, I remember seeing the box cards. I'm going to stop quickly and pick up the box cards. Guys, I don't know what box cards are, so let's look this up together as well. The box cards. I know you guys all know it, so you're just watching me learn, so I appreciate that. Let's type into the old Google box cards. Oh, here it is. It says Dorit's a liar. No, box cards. Okay. Oh, they're little cards that you can put money into. Okay. But yeah, like just cards. Okay. Cool. Box cards. Got it. Still a little confused, but that doesn't matter, right? Box cards. Okay. So, sorry. I'm getting box cards. Box carts. So I was driving home and I was at the Piggly Wiggly and then I went to Savers to see if they had any knickknacks. And then I stopped at a Blockbuster Video and I eventually made my way to Marshall's. And Andy's like, ooh, and Dorit goes to Marshall's and everyone gasps and laughs. And Erika Jayne's like,
Hell yeah, brother.
I love Marshalls and Home Goods, and when I got to the register, I couldn't find my bag. Oh, because shoplifters target Marshalls. When they actually looked back at the footage, there were 3 men that followed and targeted me. 3 men? Christmas time? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? The 3 wise men. We brought you frankincense, myrrh, and this $10,000 from Dorit Kemsley. Anyways, she's saying that she was targeted, and the camera pans to Kyle, who, like, it feels like she's biting her tongue. And Andy's like, well, fans weren't the only ones questioning the details to the robberies. Garcelle had some questions of her own, particularly about your jewelry. Paul Stan said that was a nasty comment from Garcelle to imply Dorit's robbery was fake. Also, I just still can't get over Dorit at Marshall's. Could you imagine Dorit haggling at Marshall's like, do you give any AARP discounts on Tuesdays? This is a great blouse. PK, I found you Adidas jogging shorts. Yes. Anyways, Garcelle earlier in the season was like, the only time I noticed jewelry is when, after the robbery, Dorit still had hers. But you guys, they all treat each other horrible. They're not real friends. That's the whole thing, is serving up these little shady comments. And Dorit goes, to suggest what I went through, a mother's worst nightmare. Worst nightmare. And I understood. I didn't say your robbery didn't happen. You intimated that it wasn't real. No. I believe you were robbed. I just thought there were a few things that were a little off. That's all. Like what? Your ring? Like always, I love that Garcelle, like, usually Dorit would stammer. Garcelle, like, immediately is like, your ring? Your wedding ring. The children and I had just flown in from London 24 hours prior. The things that I travel with, including my rings, were not in the place that they are normally. And Garcelle's like, got it. And Dorit's like, so what are the details? Well, I thought it was strange that a robber would be so kind to listen to you and leave your phone by the gate because you asked him to. She recounts that story in a flashback, saying the robber said, count to 40 and I'll leave your phone out by the gate. And we see footage of this, and also very gentle with this and kind of walks away, not runs away. And Dorit reminds Garcelle, you do know I had a gun to my head. And that guy was saying, kill her, kill that bitch. Okay, let me finish, please. And Garcelle's like, no, I know the story. Allow me to finish, seedlings, so I can tell you why the robber would be so kind. Yeah, we fell in love. No, she says, I had no way of contacting my husband, and I said, please, I just want to be able to call my husband. Please leave my phone. And he left it at the gate. What is it so unfathomable? And Garcelle's like, because that wouldn't happen. So that's rare. Am I wrong? Is that not rare?
It's not impossible, though. It can happen.
I like Erika's like,
Anything can happen. Orphans and widows, huh? Right? Wink.
no, listen, I do believe she was robbed. There, it's such a weird. I do believe she was robbed. I do, and that is horrifying with the gun to the head and the kids. And we know what a good mom to read is. Of course, it's hard, right? And we're so primed as an audience to think everything's fake now and to think everything's a conspiracy. There are some details that are wild. In fact, there is a podcast called the Bravo Hot Mic Podcast, hosted by Alex Baskin, the president of Evolution Media, the head of Evolution Media that does Beverly Hills and Vanderpump, and he had Dorit and PK on, and PK was like, yeah, they caught one of the burglars to one of the robberies, and Dorit was like, really? They did? I didn't know that. It's a really weird clip, you guys. I should have pulled it to play for you. But yeah, like Dorit, PK's like, they caught one, the police called me, blah, blah, blah. And Dorit's like, I didn't know that, which was so weird. Like that comment itself was weird. But I think we're just so primed to think something's weird with everything because we have been lied to a lot on these shows and in our own lives, So Andy's like, well, by the way, there are trackers in the phones. And Garcelle's like, well, that could be, it's just not that crazy, Garcelle. Oh, marshals, that's for less. God, I'm still thinking about the Marshalls thing. Dorit truly is a child of the world and salt of the earth. She's just everyday people. I like to have a big bucket of KFC. I like to get a little big chicken wing and dip it in the coleslaw. Yeah, yum, yum, yum. A little El Pollo Loco. Dorit goes, but what is crazy is to actually go on national television and peddle a false narrative. And Garcelle's like, what national television? Kind of like, this is cable. No, she's like, our show, well, I have my opinions, and the fact that I'm sharing them is just, that's my opinion. It doesn't change your world in any way. And Dorit's like, of course it does. That's a very, very big, strong thing to say, and you looking away like it's nothing says a lot about you, Garcelle. These ladies hate each other. In fact, I think Garcelle mainly hates Dorit. Dorit would actually like Garcelle if Garcelle liked Dorit. Does that make sense? Also, it's the same thing, though. It's just like Dorit implying that Sutton's an alcoholic earlier in the season. They all fucking say shit about each other. Anyways, the camera shows Erika making faces with Kyle. Like,
Kyle, can you believe this shit? Glad it's not on me. Bet it all on blonde.
Anyways, Garcelle's like, well, I'm sorry if I hurt you with that. It's just my opinion. No, I appreciate your apology. And Andy goes, okay, I want to move on. Sutton also caused quite a stir when she mentioned she heard a rumor PK had another woman in his car when he was pulled over for the DUI. Yeah, by the way, what up with that, Sutton? Where did you hear that, Sutton? Well, the streets told me. The streets told you?
What streets are these that you're running?
Well, am I the only person in this room that heard that? I never heard that, Kyle says. Well, I didn't say it was true. And Eric's like,
what streets are talking? I know the streets.
By the way, if you listen to this show, we know that there's only one streets that you would be talking about, and that is the mean, cold, hard streets of Salt Lake City. That's where the streets are talking. But I do like Sutton's like out there with a cigarette on the streets, like, what you gonna tell me, streets? Hey, pass it on. I heard PK was in a car with a woman. Well, that's very interesting. Okay, have a good night. I'm going to get on Santos and hop on all out of here. And Sutton's like, look, I know a lot of streets. And Andy's like, Rodeo, Cannon. Well, I got a lot of streets out there. Look, did I say it? Yeah. And I apologize. And honestly, I got a spanking for it. Who'd you get a spanking from? Andy says, well, PK. And Dorit's like, it's just really mean-spirited, ugly comments. Dorit, that's why you live in your bubble. We get a flashback to the IG message PK sent Sutton. At Sutton Strack, I have never ever said one bad word about you, so why would you make up blatant lies to boost your career and then double down is why you're single. You ain't no Dorit, love, and don't be so picky. Ladies and gentlemen, Berlin. Take my breath away. Andy says, hey, has she said something about you in the similar vein that annoyed you? And Son's like, well, I think vodka and the coffee thing was pretty mean-spirited, yeah. Well, I said, I don't know. And Son's like, well, the streets must have told you that. Son's pretty good with the comebacks today. And Erika's like,
the main streets of Beverly Hills.
And Andy goes, Fed Up Mom says, I like the Twitter names. Fed Up Mom says, PK coming after Sutton saying she is no Dorit. No, she isn't. Dorit wouldn't get anything out of the divorce. Dorit, do you have a prenup? And Dorit's like, I met my husband when he was bankrupt. And Andy's like, okay, so the answer is no. And Dorit's like, yeah. Speaking of marital finances, Kyle in Spain, you said you never read the paperwork Mo gives you before you sign it. We flash back to that scene. And Andy's like, dude, do you know my friend Teresa Giudice? And Kyle laughs, yeah, I do. And then he's like, well, like, listen, Teresa went to prison because she didn't read shit. Kyle's like, I grew up with a mom who told me never trust a man and always read the whole thing, but so much small print and so many pieces of paper. But there's times, should I have a lawyer look at this? I don't know. Like, Kyle, you can't play dumb and smart at the same time. Yeah, have a lawyer look at it, man. Like, honestly. And Erika's like,
it's okay to trust your partner.
If anybody else had said that, that would have been comforting. Erika Jayne saying that, been like, okay, I'm going to get a lawyer on everything from this point on. And he says, I don't think you're the poster child for trusting your partner, Erika.
Well, I'm not the poster child for any of this shit. I'm Erika Jayne. I love fucking. Yeah.
Anyways, Andy points out that Julia Roberts was on Watch What Happens Live, and she said she found it strange. She felt that he should have given you the necklace, Dorit. And we flash back to that scene in regards to Dorit and PK. And Dorit's like, it was mirroring the movie. And Andy's like, right, yeah. And Sutton's like, oh, ew. And Andy goes, PK traveling constantly and not being present was another major issue you two struggled with. And then after the season ended, headlines erupted claiming you two were on the brink of divorce. We didn't pick up cameras for that. We see the headline, spending time apart and going to counseling. And Andy's like, you were living separate lives, which you denied. So tell me now, how are the two of you doing? Whatever headlines, beep boop, bop, beep boop, boop, boop. I can tell you, after we wrapped, things got progressively worse, and him and I were at probably an all-time bad. George, as in boy George, was in town for 2 weeks in L.A. He was staying with George in a hotel, and when two little children, and they show a picture of boy George and PK. I like that. Hey, boy George, let's go and be two men on the town in our little hotel I'm staying at you with. And then he's like, so you were living separate lives a little bit. No, we weren't living separate lives, living in separate places. You have all your belongings? I like this. No, it's with boy George. It doesn't count. Culture Club, Karma Chameleon. And Andy's like, that's semantics. And she's like, it isn't though, Andy, because words have weight. And that weight is a bad word to bring up around the Housewives. Everybody's like, Ozempic? And he's like, he was staying somewhere else. And Garcelle whispers to Crystal, words have weight. And then he's like, you were off course, your marriage. Yes, we're struggling and we're working through things is what we're doing. And he's like, okay, and things are better now? Oh, better than ever. Woo! He finger blasted me last night. He kissed me and gave me $100 gift card to Marshall's. So you tell me. I think things are going pretty well. Anyways, Dorit actually shares PK was drinking a lot, and he's a drinker. A lot of hard ciders. No, says, I just think it's very difficult to have clear-headed conversations when he's drinking so much. He's stopped drinking, he's working out, he's getting a lot of tattoos, and he's fallen in love with country music. No, that's Kyle. No, he says, so he gave up drinking. He's actually been sober for 49 days. That was a very pivotal moment. So things are, knock on wood, as good as they possibly can be. And then he's like, that's great. You opened up to Kyle a few times this year about your problems in your marriage. Looking back, how did it make you feel she didn't seem to trust you enough to share what she was going through to read, man? And Dorit goes, it really hurt me, Andy. After the reunion, Kyle and I hadn't spoken for a good couple of months. See, this is what friends don't just go months. Like, come on. Like, Dorit, get it. Anyways, I was going through my own things, but when I see her on Instagram and there's no pictures of Mo, I knew something was going on, but being her friend and not knowing, it felt a bit strange. See, these housewives are exactly like us. Like, they're like little catty Facebook and Instagram detectives. Like, I went on Reddit. I was reading the threads. Like, this is the same bullshit we all do. Like, I saw that there wasn't any pictures of Mo, so I put two and two together. Like, none of these people are above any of this shit. So it's funny when they act like they are. And Kyle goes, well, I thought we were close enough that you would call me and ask or see me instead of wait until there was a camera in my car right in front of my face. You changed your number, Kyle. You blocked me. No, Dorit goes, well, Kyle, the thing is, things were obviously, it was like you were trying to avoid me. That's exactly the way it felt. It wasn't that I was trying to avoid you. You're fucking annoying. No, she goes, and maybe I haven't been very vocal about, and I actually did try to call you. When I'm struggling, I pull back and I just retreat. I need to be alone. I'm like that too, Kyle. And Dorit's like, but you weren't completely by yourself. You were with Morgan. No, and Kyle's like, when you were looking at Instagram? And Dorit's like, our husbands are very close. I know if you're going on trips or doing things. PK shares all his secrets with Mauricio. They are the bestest of friends, blood brothers. They're like the movie Stand By Me. Do you want to come see a dead body? Let's get on the train tracks. I do like the people that like there is actually a full script I read, but then I'll just say stupid shit. And I sometimes think people listening or watching and going, wait, I don't remember them talking about Stand By Me. Sorry. Sorry. Kyle's like, are you Kyle says, are you saying I wasn't struggling? No, I'm saying you weren't alone. Kyle's like, I'm saying I pull back and I'm alone. That doesn't mean I'm sitting in the dark, you know? It means I'm not putting myself out there with people. I'm reflecting. And Dorit's like, you were keeping a very close-knit circle of friends. And Kyle's like, yeah, and also my entire adult life I've been married. Stop telling us about the entire, we get it already. And it's really difficult, really painful. We were trying to keep a brave face and, for our kids at home. I wasn't ready. I don't want to feel like I should be in trouble for that. I'm figuring it out every day. So defensive. And Andy's like, by the way, do you and Kyle feel a little better coming out of this now? And Kyle's like, I do. And Dorit goes, to be honest, I don't. I think we have stuff to clear up for sure. And it's not something that I don't believe her and I can get past. Let's just you and I have a talk. And Kyle's like, you can just tell Kyle at that moment, it was like, no, we're done. Kyle's like, yeah, let's take a beat. We'll talk. Sure. Call me. And Andy's like, well, we're going to take a break. The bullet points didn't happen, Dorit. Like a little slam on like, you were not concise in this segment. And Dorit goes, I know. And Andy's like, but I'm glad you said your piece. I know. And then Kyle's like, she stayed true to herself though. And Andy's like, yes, she did. And they all kind of laugh at her like, laugh and point like Carrie from that horror film. And Garcelle whispers to Crystal, another long-winded conversation. It really, this was brutal. And I can only imagine she only caught half the shit that was actually on that stage, and watching it back probably was a little hurtful for her all over again. Now we're on to Erika Jayne talking about her comeback, a video montage of everything Erika Jayne this season, that she was very calm in the beginning. And then she really lit in when Denise Richards came, of like,
I just want to know, who's more profitable, you or Sammy? Do you know you can get a naked bundle of Denise Richards for $7?
And we see the SoFi Stadium where she's like lip syncing of like, and Erika in a talking head says,
I put in work to change myself, to change my body, to change my mind. However, if you fuck with me, I'll go to the grave with you. I'll skull fuck you. It's just who I am.
And yeah, that's not who I am. But also, I think she just focuses on the wrong thing. Like maybe that hasn't served you up to this point. So maybe I just think what an opportunity. Like, yeah, you've changed your body, you've changed all of these things, but maybe you need to change other things internally, because the external things that you based your life on before did not add up to any kind of real long-term pleasure. It was just momentary bullshit. Now you have to like fight for the rest of your life for fucking diamond earrings. Anyways, Andy's like, everybody loves a comeback, and congratulations on the residency.
Thank you. It was a success. You came, Kyle. You came, Dorit. It was great.
Dorit's like, it was so fun. Well, congratulations on your special. Bet it all on blonde, blah, blah, blah. So we talked about Tom being in the mental care facility, even through all the legal problems. And Andy's like, Sutton, you made a crack about ticket prices for Erika's show, saying they were only $7. And Sutton was like, well, I was actually coming to her defense because the guy said they were going for $1. And I thought that was kind of rude. I said, I heard they were $7. And this could, it could be seats way up in the bleachers. Who knows? It's not a stadium, Sutton. And Kyle's like, come on, Sutton, come on. Well, do you all have a sense of humor about you? Come on, have you completely lost your mind? It is true, though. Like, everybody pokes fun at Sutton Sutton actually, like, it is just so funny. It's the same pattern with each one of these ladies. They say really mean shit about each other, and it's, kind of like under the banner of like humor, but nobody ever thinks it's funny except the audience. And he's like, well, then say you're joking, Sutton, and not defending her. Well, I mean, I was joking 100%. And Kyle's like, but it was intentional. And camera shows Erika registering this, going like, I will fuck you in the grave. What? No, that was Sutton's. Erika was like,
I'm gonna fuck you in the grave one day, son. I'm never gonna let this go.
and Andy's like, were you being a showman? And Sutton's like, well, I was being a showman. And Andy's like, okay, Erika, you would announce that you had given up fighting for Lent and you nearly made it through the whole 40 days. Why did Denise, of all people, wind up getting a rise out of you? And Erika's like,
because she asked for it. She asked for it.
She didn't succeed the first time,
but she came back for it.
Well, do you feel bad a little bit for Denise?
Absolutely not. Denise asked for that.
And Son's like, well, okay. And Andy goes, Erika, you were spotted out in Vegas with an old friend of Tom's, and the internet quickly jumped in saying that he's a sugar daddy. And then, because legal documents has revealed that he has allegedly sent you like $700,000 during your divorce. And Erika goes,
he's my private lawyer. He's my private lawyer. A lawyer for money. I'll do what you want me to do. He's my private lawyer.
Sorry, Tina. And Andy's like, he's your lawyer? And she's like,
my private lawyer. Yeah, he's my lawyer. Yeah. Oh, we do butt stuff. Lawyer butt stuff.
And Andy goes, by the way, I wonder, have you held on to any of your friends that you had when you were Mrs. Tom Girardi? And Erika goes,
him,
regarding the lawyer. But yeah, I mean, I don't imagine she has any friends of like that. That's how not fake of a life, but that's how that is. Like it's just in the moment. Everybody's nice to you because you have shit, And he's like, well, it's interesting because it was a theory among viewers, and I think by some of you in the group, that you did not want to show empathy towards Tom's alleged victims because it would somehow make you seem guilty or complicit. And Erika's like,
when you're going through a legal process like that, they ask for you not to comment on anything on the way. So it's almost like you got to shut up when you're pushed so many times and you can't respond in the way that others think you should that have not been in this situation. And you look like you don't have empathy.
Garcelle has like a major cringe face on. And then he's like, but I know that you did meet with a group of people.
I did.
Who were victims. Talk to me about their meeting and why you did that, which we do get to see in The Housewife and the Hustler Part 2 on Hulu. And Erika's like,
under advice of counsel is why I went. And I spoke with these women, and I thought it was important that they saw me as a person and not through the lens of a reality TV show.
And Andy's like, okay, can you better explain to me why you sat down with the victims? And she goes,
I cannot.
And she's like stone-faced. And Andy's like, why not?
I cannot.
Did you learn things from them?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Don't wear white after Labor Day. Don't go down dark alleys.
No, she says,
one of them being that one of my paychecks was in a client trust fund.
And Andy's like, so it was
fucked up.
And Andy goes, opposite of what people are accusing you.
I think, here's the thing. Trial's about to happen, so I guess we'll have answers there. Who knows?
Trying to distance herself from the Tom Girardi stuff. But it is so funny here because she's trying to paint herself as another one of Tom's victims. Like, oh, you think these plane crash and burn victims? One of my paychecks wound up in client trust funds, which I can't wait to see the proof of that. But it's like, dude, Erika, this just isn't your jam talking about this shit. You just make yourself, anytime this is brought up, you immediately chip away at the goodwill that you built up this season. So Andy goes, and Tom's been diagnosed with dementia, but he has been ruled competent to stand trial. And Crystal jumps in, goes, I don't know how that works. And Kyle's like, I don't understand that either. And Erika's like,
I think there's one thing to be competent under the law. Can you aid in your own defense and your medical diagnosis? It's like, how far along are you into it? I'm not sure.
And Crystal goes, I just feel my dad had Alzheimer's. And Erika's like,
I know that.
Well, I work with Alzheimer's Association. I was waiting for Anna Marie to jump in. I'm like, oh, Crystal, what do you want to work? Yeah, anyways. Crystal says, well, the standard rate of survival from diagnosis to end for Alzheimer's patients is 9 years. So at this rate, he would be very progressed. So for Tom to be able to stand trial right now seems strange to me. And Erika's just that Erika Stone stare again.
I don't know what Crystal's saying. Is she saying if she was faking it, and faking it, then just saying that?
And Crystal goes, well, I don't know if he's faking it, but it was surprising to me considering what we talked about 4 years ago. And Erika just shakes her head and glares off into the distance.
Make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away.
Nanny goes, all right, we're going to leave it there. No, don't leave it there. No, chip away at Stoneface there. Anyways, during break, Garcelle quietly says to Crystal, I knew what you were trying to say from the way he was 4 years later for him to be competent, so somebody's lying. And Crystal's like, then it would be her. It is a confusing thing. I had the Bravo docket on, I think, in December, and I was, it's very confusing because, listen, I kind of believe he doesn't look well, but I was shocked that he was found competent, and I don't know. I'm very curious about this. Anyways, and then we hear Andy talking to the producers in his ear and goes, is Kathy making an entrance or are we starting with her? And Garcelle's like, Kathy? Oh. So I guess some people didn't know Kathy was coming. Outside the studio, we see a big black Cadillac Escalade, dropping Kathy off. She's in her hotel slippers and bathrobe, just like she woke up. And they're just like, how are you? And Kathy's like, hi, I'm good. Are you Kyle? Kyle, I thought that was you. No, she's like, do I go in here? Three men with their arms full of clothing and hangers and large bags. They bring stuff into the trailer. Kathy's in the chair getting her hair and makeup done. And I got to tell you, what a why! It's like a Medusa mixed with Clarice. Do you still hear the lambs screaming, Clarice? Like it's like Mommy Dearest. I mean, the look. I mean, I'm shocked she was allowing herself to be filmed without full makeup, and it was a very intense, funny look. That's why I think Kathy's iconic because she gives us moments like these. Kathy's like, I don't like having bad energy with anyone, and I think this is a good healing for Kyle. Maurice is going one way. I love that Mauricio, she calls Maurice. She's going one way. He's dancing for 4 months on Dancing with the Stars. Kyle, she's not a compulsive person. She doesn't just jump and make a decision. And Kyle didn't decide this in 3 months. This for sure. I bet she had been thinking, in my feeling, the last 3 or 4 years. And I shouldn't say that, but, and the producer goes, but you did. And Kathy goes, but I did. Kathy Hilton, ladies and gentlemen, saying more than most anybody on the show in regards to Kyle in terms of truth. We finally get some more. Like, that's why I love Kathy. Kathy's like, oops, did I do that? Back on the set, we're getting ready to go. We're coming back. And he's like, well, when Sutton was left out of a Magic Mike lap dance in Vegas, she and her pants stormed out the door for a magic meltdown with a few choice words. But before we name them, let's take a look at how all this went down. And we get a flashback to the Ocean Spray grapefruit juice and the purrs. Like, I'll bring my own mixer. I'm done. Nobody saw it. I mean, look, Beyonce's like hot sauce in her bag. I have Ocean Spray grapefruit juice in my bag. And Sutton continues in a talking head, like, us Southern girls, we know what we like. And they're taking a roadie to the Vegas show. And then, we get it. But this is a whole Sutton package, talking about her ex-husband moving to London, Sutton to her daughter with jewelry shopping on the finale, saying, well, it was really hard when daddy said he was moving. When we got married, I kind of lost my independence a little bit. And then that scene with Kyle, where Kyle's like, I think you're being a little weird and off. And Sutton's like, well, will you listen for a second? Well, you have a habit of losing your shit in ridiculous circumstances. And we get a clip to the Magic Mike of Erika on the floor. Remember that? The spread eagled and the dancer's face is like motorboating her private part, And Erika's like, yeah, get in there. And Sutton had wore her dick riding pants like, I wore my pants for fucking nothing. I say. I'm on the board of American Ballet Foundation. I own two minor league baseball teams. And I'm not getting dick rode on stage at Magic Mike. I say it ridiculous. And then, of course, we have the name 'em. Well, what you did, name 'em, was ridiculous. Name 'em. Be quiet so I can. Name 'em. Let me talk, Jesus. That was a great scene. So Garcelle in the studio gives Kyle a look because she's sitting there counting the name-ums. Kyle like, 1, 2, 3. And Sutton's like, well, I'm sick of fighting with you. I really am. And Kyle's like, me too. Well, you've already lost 2 sisters. You want to lose a third? This is the clip from the THC dinner earlier in the season. And Erika's like, don't do that. And Kyle's like, go fuck yourself. That really was a low blow from Sutton. It was like, holy shit. Anyways, we're back in the studio and Sutton's like, well, fun time, fun time. And Andy goes, okay, a lot of people called out what they perceived as hypocrisy online. Reality TV Universe said, no one's buying Sutton's prude act. She had dollar bills and pants ready to go. What do you think was going to happen at Magic Mike? And Sutton's like, well, I had no idea that I didn't know it was a show like that, like a Broadway show. So I actually brought these dollar bills to share with everyone, not just for myself. You know, you want to get dick road? I'll give you a couple dollars. I thought that it would be kind of fun in the spirit of what we were doing. I do like, he was like, I didn't know it was a show like that, like a Broadway show. I thought it was like Cats. I will go again and again. I love Cats. Son's like, well, did I overreact? Absolutely. And Erika's like, yeah, you did. And Annie's like, well, what were you reacting to? And Son's like, well, I didn't like the simulation of cunnilingus, the old cunnilingus. And Erika's like,
But do you like it in real life? Huh? No, I'm just kidding. I needed to know. Huh? Do you like it in your beaver much?
Annie goes, leaving Las Vegas, the elevator door opened. Sudden, you were convinced that the timing of those elevators was planned. We flash back to that with Erika's dancer friends from the Magic Mike. And, you know, going,
Sutton, this your chance to apologize to my friends.
I do still think that was set up. I think that's very easy to go, hey, we're leaving now. Come down and embarrass Sutton. I do think that was fully set up. And Andy goes, how could she have pulled that off? Because it seems, well, okay, Andy, well, it just seems suspect in the moment. And it was just this opportunity to humiliate me. And it was just so welcomed by you. And I thought we had a nice.
No, we didn't, because you threw a fit at Magic Mike and humiliated me in front of the cast.
Yeah, really. Honestly, you guys, come on. Think about it. They're filming a show. Really? Do you think they were humiliated by Sutton storming off? Give me a fucking, let's live in the real world for a second. They probably loved it. They watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. They probably thought it was iconic, period. They were probably laughing their balls off. Erika's like,
if I plan the elevator, I plan to be a billionaire tonight.
And Dorit's like, it's actually impossible. How is it fucking impossible to text somebody and go, get on the elevator now? Dorit, no, impossible. It's like impossible, like somebody like getting $10,000 stolen from your card at Marshall's. I'm kidding. And he's like, could it all have been avoided if you had just come clean with the group and said, I'm going through something? And Kyle shakes her head yes and says, well, I think I did say the next day, but I couldn't say what it was. And then he's like, and what was happening was your ex was moving to another country. Well, that's right, Andy. And he told me that day that he was moving to London. And James, my son, was moving to London. And I was moving to London. And this man gets what he wants. That is kind of fucked up. It was like, you're moving and your son's moving. And son's like, I'm not even with you. I was just trying to get it. I was on my dick riding pants and now I got to move to London. And he's like, he could dictate whether you move to London? Well, I went through my whole marriage being dictated to. And Andy's like, but you're not married to him anymore. No, wait, no. But see, when you trained like that, Andy. And Garcelle's like, well, that's when I realized how much a hold he still has on her, even though they're divorced. And Sutton's like, had. And Andy's like, had. And Sutton's like, had. I went to him and I said, I'm not moving to London. And James is not moving to London, so we're staying here, I say, and it's so much courage for me to do that. And it's funny because you see, and then he's like, well, how did that go over? Well, he agreed. And then he's like, so that was huge for you. Well, it was huge for me to face him. And it's interesting when I've watched the show how I've changed. And Andy's like, yeah, I've seen over the years with many women, the show has actually given them a voice that maybe they didn't have before, like Leah McSweeney. Maybe confidence or something like that. And Sutton's like, well, I don't want to speak to that just for a second. Because Kyle, you said something really hurt my feelings earlier. You said all I have is cashmere and a horse. And Kyle rolls her eyes and looks at Erika and says like, and you know that's not true. I got other things. Cashmere, I got cotton. I got like a poly knit. No. So Kyle's like, well, you said sometimes we say things to make a little joke. And Sutton's like, well, I'm telling you that it hurt my feelings. And you also know it's not true. And I have a store that has been open for 4.5 years. And I also have a new business that is really big. And it's a big deal. Sutton Crypto. I wonder what this new business is. Because like I know that. And I was saying that because you're talking about my personal life like a lot. And you don't even want to talk about the Uber driver. Which, you know, talking about making out with her driver. It wasn't an Uber driver. It was her actual personal driver. Which is still pretty funny. I wish Andy was like, okay, we're going to have Randy, Sutton's driver, come out and join us. What's Sutton like as a kisser? Is there a lot of tongue? Sutton's like, well, I'm not going to reveal that man's name. Well, if you want to talk about the intimacies of my marriage, well, we're talking about what you said earlier. And Kyle's like, the point is, I said that because of those things. But Kyle's just like mean girl behavior. Like, Kyle, just lean into who you actually are, man. And he's like, we also found out that your monthly alimony is $300,000 after taxes. And Sutton goes, thank you. And he's like, don't thank me. You're the one who said it. You're the one who revealed it. And then he's like, some people applauded you. Others thought you were gloating. Anna Marie, what do you think? This is the first time Anna Marie's spoken. I mean, obviously she had spoken, but they probably edited her out. And I got to tell you, I really like it when she only speaks one time. I don't know why Anna Marie needs to jump in on this, but it's classic Anna Marie. She's like, I mean, I come from a world where you don't talk about money like that. Like, I have a lot of very, very wealthy and very, very famous friends, and I just don't talk about it. I don't show it. So, I mean, I'm not saying Sutton shouldn't. Well, I didn't put it up on the TV screen. Do whatever you want. I am just from a world that you don't do that. Anna Marie's from a better world, you guys. Oh my God. And he's like, Kyle on an Amazon Live, you said after watching back the episodes, you were taking a little break from Sutton because of things she had said about you in interviews. What hurt the most? This Amazon Live, it's like the new TMZ or something. Like Amazon, like it's wild. Kyle's like, well, in her interviews, any chance she got, it was like, this friendship was a farce and we're having these great conversations. Well, we did have really amazing conversations before the weed dinner privately. And you talk about like the cameras come on, I'm not a good friend to you. The cameras came on and you weren't a good friend to me, Kyle. Well, how do you expect me to be a good friend to you when you were treating me like that, you know, in my own home? My kids are upstairs and you're telling me, talking to me, asking me if the ring on my finger was bought from Mo because he had cheated on me. Also, why are your kids there when you're having a full-on THC dinner? Like, mommy's gonna go explore downstairs. You kids stay up here. Anyway, Son's like, well, I never said that. And she didn't say that unless they cut it out of the show. Cause like, that's exactly Garcelle said it because that was a conversation that you guys had. And Dorit's like, by the way, it was had behind her back. Yeah, it was all. And Son's like, it was all over the internet, Kyle. Cause like, that's so nice of you to bring this up here at my home. Well, when I walked out of your library, I was just happy just not talking about it. So why don't you just go into the other room? And Eric's like, the dining room. And Kyle's like, yeah, why did you go in the dining room and change? Yeah, you questioned her. Well, I was just going to be quiet. But you weren't, Kyle screams. And Son's like, well, I didn't bring it up. And Kyle's like, so Garcelle brought it up. Okay, whatever. We flash back to 9 months earlier where Son's like, well, is there something going on in your personal life? And Anna Marie's like, with what though? Like what? Her marriage, Garcelle says. And Son's like, listen, we were both hot that night. We flash back to that dinner table where Kyle's yelling, if I'm going through hard times and I'm not drinking, because guess what? If I have 2 glasses of wine the next day, I feel down and depressed. I can't afford to feel depressed right now. And Annie's like, Kyle, you went to visit Sutton, and to say it didn't go well was an understatement. What was going through your head in her kitchen that day? Besides having an iconic name 'em scene. Kyle's like, well, I didn't, it started out fine. And then when we started to talk, she started that, name 'em. And I was like, she seemed a little off. So that's why I commented later. I really didn't know. And Andy's like, so Freddie Mellencamp, even weighed in when she came to watch What Happens Live. She commented on your drinking and says like, yeah. We flash back to another Freddie Mellencamp. I'm telling you, Freddie Mellencamp is coming back to this show. Prepare yourselves. Andy, in this flashback, the night of the premiere of Beverly Hills, Freddie Mellencamp and Kyle were on afterwards. And he goes, had you ever heard the rumor about PK riding with another woman the night of this DUI, or was that a stretch from Sutton? And Freddie is like, well, I think it's pretty rich coming from Sutton, who has vodka in her purse 24/7. But and Kyle is sitting right next to her, and she's like, oh, this is basically kind of like she's saying like Sutton had Garcelle say it, but like Kyle has Freddie say things. It's all the same playbook, right? Andy's like, SD2 says, it all makes sense now why Freddie was implying that Sutton drinks on Watch What Happens Live. Freddie is doing Kyle's dirty work again. Was she doing your dirty work? And Kyle's like, absolutely not. Wink. And Sutton's like, well, you could have said, no, she doesn't, Freddie. And Kyle's like, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna. And Sutton's like, well, you could have been a better friend in that moment. Listen, I did not say anything, and there are things that I could have said, and I did not. See, another one of those secrets. What could you have said? What else are you holding, Kyle? So how about that? I stayed quiet. I never said the things that you said that I did. Well, I think insinuating that I have a drinking problem and I am anorexic and I've made up my foot problem. Because I didn't say any of those things. And I'll take pills. I didn't say any of those things. But you do take pills for your neuropathy. And Kyle's like, guys, did I say any of those things? And Sutton's like, well, who cares? That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
But you can't include that.
Well, listen, but it's the insinuation. I didn't say that. Well, it's understanding, Kyle, your responsibility in the insinuation. You got to understand at some point, Kyle. Kyle, you have been relentlessly mean to old Sutton. And Kyle's like, where? And Erika's like,
oh, I don't think so.
And Sutton's like, well, as Denise Richards would say, watch the show. Watch the show. Next week, the reunion concludes, and we have the Grand Dame of Beverly Hills, Kathy, coming out, Sutton looking shocked. And there's a really interesting line in here where Andy goes, Kyle, $1 million question. Is there anything going on with you and Morgan Wade? And Dorit goes, it looks like you guys were girlfriends. And Kyle's like, I don't know what to say. And she looks at Kathy, and Kathy's like, don't be embarrassed. And Kyle's like, no, I'm not. And that's wild. That don't be embarrassed. Because that almost leads you to believe, don't be embarrassed with like, what would you be embarrassed about? Like was Kathy saying that of like, don't be embarrassed about your love for Morgan. Don't be embarrassed to say what the truth is. It seems like another little like potential Kathy slip up yet reveal of truth. Now, I don't think Kyle comes out next week at all, but it will be fascinating to see what we do get. And I do think Kathy is there for moral support. Also, we talk about Andy's like, Erika, you said the women in this group fear Kathy because she holds the access to something they want. Who do you think is most afraid of her in this group? That's a great question. And Erika, pointing to Kathy, says,
and there are a lot of women you don't want to run into crossways with this one.
And Sutton is like, oh, ooh, ooh. And she starts shaking. And Garcelle's like, oh my God, are you okay? Can we call somebody, please? And Andy's like, you're shaking. You are really shaking. Like, so Sutton, we're going to find out so that's the dramatic conclusion next week. And I got to tell you, if this interrupts Kyle coming out, she was like, I do want to tell you that I am. And Sutton's like, woo, woo, oh, and then we have to cut away from Kyle's revelation. I love Sutton with all my heart, but I am going to be upset about that. You guys, what an episode. We did it. I finished before the Trader, so I can go enjoy that. But I hope you have the best Friday ever. Tune into part 2 of this. Donna Bowling from Daily Dose of Donna. We had a fabulous conversation. Talk about all the shows, including the Beverly Hills reunion. But have a great weekend this weekend. What did I tell you? Go out, live life, watch something good, eat something great, listen to music, tell people you love them, kiss somebody with their permission, go hike in nature, just lay in one place, and meet me back here on Monday for a pop culture roundup. And I will be doing a Traders finale and reunion recap on the Patreon, as well as a Summer House this weekend. Finally, and remember, the Oscars are this weekend. And also, I think the time change is on Sunday as well. So a lot of stuff happening. I love you guys. Bye.